Henry the VIII ruled the Kingdom of England for 38 years, and in that time he had 6 wives. He was born in 1491, and he was crowned king in 1509 at the age of 18. Also that same year, he married his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Catherine was the daughter of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. She was also the widow of Henry's dead brother. Henry and Catherine were married for 20 years, and it was said to be a mostly happy marriage. However, the one thing that Henry wanted more than anything was a male heir to the throne. So after many attempts, Catherine finally gave birth to a daughter named Mary, who would eventually grow up to become Queen Mary, who burned a lot of people at the stake. Because Catherine did not produce a male heir to the throne, Henry asked the Catholic Church to grant him a divorce, which they did not. So, being the devout Catholic that Henry was, he decided to leave the Catholic Church, form his own church, and grant himself a divorce, leaving Catherine to live unhappily ever after. Wife number 2, Anne Boleyn. Anne was the mistress of King Henry while he was married to Catherine of Aragon. She was also one of Catherine's handmaidens. Henry and Anne were married for 3 years, and in that time, Anne produced one child, a daughter named Elizabeth, who would eventually grow up to become Queen Elizabeth I. Because Anne did not produce a male heir to the throne, Henry decided that he wanted to get rid of her too. But he didn't want to get a divorce again because he thought that that might make him look bad, so instead he decided to falsely accuse Anne of adultery, claiming that she was having an affair with a man by the name of Mark Smeaton. Imagine how he explained that one to Anne. "How dare you, Anne Boleyn, commit adultery against your king while you were queen, which you did not do, but I did do with you when you were not queen, when I was married to my first queen." Everybody got that? Henry also accused Anne of witchcraft, saying that she bewitched him, and he also accused her of incest, claiming that she was having sex with her brother George. After Mark Smeaton was arrested and tortured, he gave a full confession. However, his alternative facts did not match Henry's alternative facts. Regardless, all 3 were found guilty and sentenced to death by having their head chopped off with an axe. Now, if you have someone's head removed with an axe, it usually takes 3 to 5 whacks. However, if you use a sword, you can get through the neck in one swipe. So Henry, being the kind and compassionate husband that he was, decided to bring in the best swordsman to remove Anne's head with one swipe. Now that's love. Number 3, Jane Seymour. Now after Henry got over his long heartache over the death of his wife, Anne Boleyn, he married Jane Seymour, which was 10 days after he had Anne's head removed. Jane was Henry's mistress while he was married to Anne Boleyn, and she was also one of Anne Boleyn's handmaidens. And more than anything, Henry still wanted a male heir to the throne. And wouldn't you know it, Jane came through in fine style by giving birth to a son named Edward. And Henry was so happy and relieved that he finally had a male heir to the throne that he declared that Jane was his one and only true wife and that his daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, were illegitimate. But Henry wasn't happy for long, because just a few days after Jane gave birth to Edward, she became extremely ill and she died, leaving Henry to rule the kingdom as a single dad. Number 4, Anne of Cleves. We're not really sure why Henry married Anne of Cleves. Some say that he was pressured into it and was done out of duty, because Henry found her unattractive, said that she smelled, and he questioned her virginity. The marriage only lasted 6 months. However, Anne made off like a bandit in the divorce. She got a castle, a large sum of gold, and she got to keep her head. Number 5, Catherine Howard. Catherine was not only Henry's 5th wife, she was also the cousin of Henry's 2nd wife, Anne Boleyn. And like her cousin, she was charged with adultery as well. Only unlike her cousin, Catherine actually committed adultery with a man by the name of Thomas Culpeper. After Thomas was arrested and tortured, he gave a full confession. And in that confession, he gave a name, Francis Durham, who was a man who had sexual relations with Catherine before she ever met Henry. So Henry had Francis arrested on adultery. Catherine, Thomas, and Francis were all found guilty and sentenced to death. However, Francis, being the least guilty of them all, received the most horrible death, being drawn and quartered, in which they would hang you, cut off your genitals, tear out your intestines, cut off your head, and then chop you into 4 pieces. Now, Henry did not love Catherine as much as he loved Anne, so Catherine was sentenced to have her head chopped off with an axe. Now, it is said that if you could keep your head perfectly still on the chopping block, the executioner can remove your head with the axe with one swipe. So Catherine had the chopping block brought into her quarters the night before her execution, and she stayed up all night, keeping her head perfectly still. Number 6. Catherine Parr. Catherine Parr is the last of Henry's wives, and it brings his marriages full circle, because Catherine's mother was a handmaiden to Catherine of Aragon, and she was so fond of Catherine that she decided to name her daughter after Catherine of Aragon. The marriage lasted 4 years, ending in the death of Henry in the year 1547, and Catherine Parr died the following year. If you'd like an easy way to remember Henry's dead wives, just remember this simple poem. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. And if you'd like to know more about horrible history, read a damn book, or just wait till I make another video. Thanks for watching.